What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Contents of This Package show. We're here in episode 10 to talk and discuss our new latest sample pack, Elysium, which dropped yesterday. I'm here with my good friend Smythe. Smythe, how you doing, man?
Yo, I'm chilling, man.
Great. And I'm also here with Joel. Joel, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, everybody?
So, very, very excited for this brand new pack. A couple new things in store with this new pack. We're really, really excited to roll this out. And we're going to let Smythe let you guys in on what to expect with this new form of package, man.
Yeah, so we've pretty much revamped our melodic loops. So the first thing you'll notice right away is that now there's 15 melodic loops instead of 10, which means there's more loops overall, meaning, you know, there's more stems, more things to choose from. There's, because of that, more one shots. So where before maybe you've had about, 40 to 50 one shots or even more, there's, multiply that by, 0.5 or I don't know. My math is a little off, but more one shots.
Probably going to add about maybe like 40 to 50 more one shots probably altogether. And in some cases, probably even more than that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then there's also another new form of format too that we're also introducing with this new pack too. Yeah,
so a lot of you guys ask for the clean stems of everything, which I think, I can speak for everyone when I say we were a little hesitant at first, because really what makes our sound to be our sound is all of the saturation and all of the analog methods and processing that we put on our stuff. But I do think there's value in having the clean version. I make it sound like we're cursing on our loops, huh?
Right,
the edited version.
Right.
No, having the clean version so that you can do your own kind of processing. And I think what's key here is that this stuff is still going to have an analog flavor. It's just not going to be as strong.
Right.
So, we're still recording through analog gear. It's still going to be fat. It's still going to be warm. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be like we're putting hot sauce all over the food,
right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, you wanted to add anything on that?
I mean, well, just to piggyback on like what you said, once the stuff is still being recorded in, through nice preamps and through some stuff is, it's gonna have some compression on it from the preamps we're recording on, or some reverb maybe from Smythe's amp, from his tube amp, but it's still, like you said, it's all gonna be warm stuff. It's gonna be dry, but it's still gonna have body to it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm real interested in hearing like what our the folks that buy our stuff, like what they're going to do with the cleaner stuff. I know personally for myself, like one of the main reasons why we mix and master the way we do is because, that kind of is part of the art of sampling, is taking what's presented and then, figuring it out basically, But I'm 39 years old. I come from a different time. And, that sentiment isn't really the same across the board anymore. And it's not a right or wrong thing. It's actually, listen, if technology makes it so that you can get clean stems now, why not? You know what I'm saying? Especially considering the fact that, I definitely got some, there was this at one point, they were handing out Stevie Wonder's stems from one of his sessions. And I was very baffled by how clean the stems were. Like, they were super clean, and I was just like, wow, these are like really, really clean in comparison to the master track, so
yeah.
But at the end of the day, we do take into consideration a lot of the feedback that we get. We don't necessarily acknowledge every comment or every piece of critique or feedback that we receive, but I'm always like, putting that in a notebook and saying, okay, this is something that we need to to address moving forward. Speaking of which, we just put out our first long form piece of content, and it's interesting because if you go back and look at it, it's a from our office series, our vlog series. And the title of the piece is called Heaven Can't Wait. And it actually centers around us working on the Elysium Pack. And one of the reasons why we rolled that out is because we were listening to, to our customers. They love watching the process, and they love kind of being a fly on the wall and getting to see, how you guys put things together. And, you can't always do, everything, that the customer says, but in some cases, like this, this is something that we can deliver on, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And, thinking about, going back to what you said about the Stevie Wonder stems, it made me remember that a lot of the processing that we do, we're simulating the sound of what electronics and what old technology did to music, and how music was actually stored on a tangible thing.
Exactly.
And like I have a few sessions like that. Like I have Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, like the multi-track stems. At one point I had Rock With You by Michael Jackson. And when you listen to those multi-track stems, especially artists like Stevie Wonder who use, bigger bands, or like Michael Jackson where, Quincy was recording, string sections and all the instruments you could think of.
Right.
I feel like people have this, they have this notion about analog tape or analog gear where it almost makes your music sound worse in a way, or it adds distortion, or it adds this, or it adds that, when they were actually trying to not have any of those artifacts at all.
Right.
So I feel like what we hear, like the sound of vinyl records, is the sound of consumers abusing their music, when they buy it, like storing it the wrong way, or maybe the sound of tapes, not being stored in the wrong environment. And it creates a sound that, we remember. Like you think about putting on a record, you might be putting on a Warped record or something, but yeah, like the way a lot of these multi-track sessions were recorded back in the day, they were recorded extremely well, given the limitations of tape, and the limitations of like, you got to get this stuff down in one take, whether you're the engineer or whether you're the musician, like you got to make sure it's EQ'd right going to tape. You got to make sure you're playing it right. So I think that the clean stems actually is a pretty accurate way, because no one's gonna listen to a stem. Like the stems don't have that much processing on it, I don't think, as heavy as it is,
Yeah, the whole point, I think, for people to use stems is because they want specific things, and they want more flexibility. So I think with the dry stems, it'll really open that up for people to be able to use things on their own and for their own projects in the way they really want to use them. They want to add a different delay, or whether it be a reverb that's more fitting for their production, they could do all that stuff. And I think the flexibility is just going to be, there's no ceiling for where people will be able to take this stuff now,
right?
With having dry stems in these packs.
Definitely. And even one thing that I was thinking about, especially with us stepping into a much more broader scope of working with licensing and working on brand, basically background music for digital pieces and stuff like that. One of the things that I do know on the publishing side is the people that do placements tend to want the stuff to be a little cleaner. And so a lot of the folks that we service, they do that type of work. And so if they can get their stuff out a lot cleaner, allow for it to be welcomed a little bit better into a library somewhere, we're just doing better for them,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man. So moving forward, let's get into the style of this brand new pack. So actually I got this pack started. Actually, I forgot that fast that I was actually this pack. So basically I've started like the first 5 loops, and the feel that I really wanted was something a little bit more heavenly. We don't really do a lot of vocals or vox in our packs. We're not really heavy with that. But with this particular one, I kind of had this feel of, I really wanted to do almost like that heavenly voice, you know, that you hear a lot of times in movies, or, you know, just even sometimes just in general soul. So we kind of went with, like, stylistically overall, it kind of has like this heavenly vibe. It's a lot brighter than some of our other, you know, some of the other things that we've done. And so, like, from an instrument standpoint, you know, obviously, you know, some folks can see through the video that we dropped earlier this week, but instrument wise and stylistically wise, like, where were you guys going in this particular loops that you guys were taking care of?
I would say there's a airiness. At least the stuff I was working on, there's an airiness I would try to keep in mind, and that I would hear from, you know, the stuff you started the pack off with. I heard like an airiness to it, almost like the like our daydreaming packs. Obviously this is, you know, an extremity of the sonic palette, but there's an airiness, but not, you know, totally drowned out when it comes to the reverb and, you know, cutting a lot of low end out of stuff. There's just that glisten to stuff on this pack. And, you know, of course we always add our flair of, you know, soul to it, so it has that, so you could almost hear the two, you know, like existing together, like that airiness and that heavenliness that you think of when you hear the word, you know, Elysium, and that meshed with our soul, original like soul sound. You get that feel from everything I hear on this pack and what we've been working on in this pack going forward.
For sure. What about you, Smythe?
Yeah, you know, for me, it was you know, kind of something that I'll say even like I struggle with sometimes is resolving things in a major key. I feel like I just have a tendency to like if I'm playing something that's mostly in a major key, I usually don't resolve it. But I usually when I'm making chord progressions, I usually I'm more comfortable resolving things in a minor key. So it was really kind of
before you move on, can you just let folks know what you mean by resolving? Because we know what you mean, but they might not know what you mean.
Yeah. So I guess the best way I could explain it is, you know, with an example, or maybe just explaining the feeling. You know, it's kind of like at the end of a classical piece, you know, when there's a lot of tension happening, and then when the pianist finally plays that last chord, then it feels like there was just a release there. That's an example of resolution. So for example, you know, like again, like I think I gave this example on the last podcast. We're talking about the Wu-Tang pack, but like let's say in classical music they'll use the dominant 7 chord a lot. So like if we're in the key of C, you got G, B, D, and F, which is the dominant 7/5 chord. So where the resolution happens, let's say we're resolving to the 1 chord, which would be a C triad. So that F in the G7 naturally wants to resolve down to the E in the C major chord.
Gotcha.
That B in the G7 chord wants to resolve up to the C in the C major chord. So, and then of course the D is kind of natural to, you know, that's not as strong of a resolution. It's kind of just like something that you feel, I guess, but it goes up to that, I guess that E as well, or that C. Depends on how you're writing it. But yeah, so like those notes, because they're about a half step away, that B in the G chord and that F, they feel like they want to resolve, and that sound is called a resolution of one chord into another. So Yeah, like resolving chords creates like I guess a feeling of finality. And when you're resolving to a major chord, it feels happy. And you know, maybe this is a little too deep for a music podcast, but I just don't feel like I want to do happy stuff right now.
I feel you. Nah, I feel you, man. Yeah. So basically, in the most layman terms possible, it's basically the last chord before the loop starts over again.
Pretty much.
You're closing the loop in essence.
Exactly. And like that's, you know, closing a loop is a happy thing. It feels like it's something that's supposed to happen. You know, which I think is very, what's the word? Is very fitting because, you know, a lot of people believe that heaven is something that's eternal. It's like a never-ending loop. You know, it's a never-ending loop of happiness.
My man went mad deep on this, John.
Depends on what you believe, or you know, it's maybe some of you believe that, you know, you kind of die and nothing happens. So, you know, maybe this pack will help you explore something new, some resolutions.
Right.
Maybe you're like me. You just want to you just want things to kind of go in their own way. You're into straight. This is some deep philosophy stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
man's talking about listening to the sample pack and then getting on your knees and asking the Lord for forgiveness immediately after.
Exactly. No. So yeah. I think that's really like one of the things that I had to be mindful of was you know, making sure to keep things in a brighter key. You know.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really enjoyed with this particular pack, so I love like Joel was saying, like when you listen to Daydream, very, very guitar heavy, but also very heavy on the saturation from a reverb standpoint. And then this pack, I felt like you were dialed all the way back guitar wise, as far as, you know, there really wasn't much reverb outside of, you know, just natural feedback from the amp, you know.
Right.
And I think that was one of the things that kept it real airy. And even Joel too, on the piano side, you know, I noticed that the pianos were a lot cleaner in this pack too, where, you know, maybe on some of the older packs, or, you know, some of the regular packs that we do, you know, the piano will be, you know, saturated in vinyl, or, you know what I'm saying, any type of effect that you can, you know, probably add in, you know, Spectrasonics, but or in Keyscape, excuse me. But yeah, it was just clean altogether. Even the stuff that I did, I noticed, even though I had reverb on it, it was like much more cleaner than my other stuff, you know.
And I think this is a great pack to kick off the, you know, the dry stems with, just because of that exact thing. You know, it's an airy pack, so we're adding like small bits of reverb to stuff, but in essence, you're gonna get the dry stem of all that stuff. So I think this is like perfect timing for that.
Yeah. Speaking of new format too, you know, one of the things that we discussed about going into this new quarter, and for me, I know as the business person, so to say, of the company, once we get into the third quarter, I'm thinking about 2020 or the next year. So this next year obviously is 2020, but we really wanted to, after having a super scatterbrained summer, I mean, we were just pumping out product left and right. And one of the things that I wanted to get back to was kind of the essence of really who we were when we first started this company, focusing more on brand and focusing more on, not to say that any of our products lack quality. As a matter of fact, that's the one thing that's kind of odd about our stuff, is that we can do a lot and never drop off in quality. I know I'm kind of biased, but you know, you guys know if I felt like that you guys were dropping off, I would tell you, you know, like this isn't good enough. But that hasn't happened. And but one of the things that we really wanted to do was to be able to give you guys just a bit more. And then also just, you know, we work so hard on these packs, man, let these packs breathe a little bit, you know? And, you know, for us to be able to do just a bit more in depth of like what people are actually going to get in each individual pack. And so I'm just really excited, like all together, you know, what this is going to look like in the future. And then also too, just it frees us up to do some of the other things, like, you know, there's some other initiatives that we're not going to discuss now, that we're going to be rolling out, probably top of the year for customers and stuff like that. And this is just going to allow us to do that much more, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that. I feel like people at this point deserve to see more of what we do. You know, essentially we're kind of not really we're changing our approach, but we're not really changing what we do. We're just kind of making ourselves more available to be seen. I think it's good for people to see that, you know. I think they you know, people support us, and I'm sure they love to see exactly how we do what we do, you know.
Yeah. It works out for both parties. Like we could take a step back and put a little more time into things, and people get to see more of that. So I think it's a win-win.
And even just, again, this is going back to paying attention to what the customers are saying. So, you know, when we would put out content, you know, a lot of times on, say, like a YouTube, you know, the video would maybe be like 5 minutes long. And so we would get two things. We would get, I want to see more of this. And also, can you make this longer? You know, so
yeah.
That kind of told us that, okay, you know, we need to maybe readjust a bit. And, you know, we don't want people forgetting. Like there are people that also telling us, like, you know, I haven't even been able to keep up. You know, I haven't even been able to get the last one. And so we kind of wanted to solve that and just, you know, take our times, man. I feel like we do too much good work to kind of just let things be here today, and then 2 days later there's something brand new coming out, like literally, because that's what happened over the summer.
Yeah, there's when I think back, there's a lot of stuff that probably should have gotten way more attention. I think about some of the packs that we did. You know, like I checked the website and I saw the best-selling packs of August, and you know, like some of that stuff, you know, deserved to live longer. I think, like original motion picture, or like cruise control.
Yeah,
you know, kind of letting people in on the group text, you know, because there's conversations that we have about these things in the group text and about certain concepts. But of course, like you said, during the summer, you know, we just kind of pumping stuff out, and a few days later there's another pack out. But I think, you know, maybe even going back, because like a concept like original motion picture, from the graphics to the music, you know, and to the artist that inspired it, I think there's a whole lot to be said there that can't be said in 2 days, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And even John and I, we were talking the other day, and we want to get back to writing again, you know what I'm saying? Having written content as well. And, you know, cause it just the amount of, it's not like, somebody even said yesterday when the video came out, they were like, man, you guys just do it so effortlessly. And, you know, I think Zari made a comment through, you know, on, you know, via Soul Surplus, like, yeah, it's definitely not as effortless as it looks. Like, we make it look effortless, but it's not effortless. Like, there's everything that we do is well thought out. We're all extremely meticulous in everything that we do. And that just needs to be highlighted just that much more, you know, moving forward. And so, it's definitely going to be on, you know, myself and Zari from a marketing standpoint, just to really continue to stay on top of the storytelling. And, you know, I think with this first one, I think we're stepping off in the right direction. And, you know, so this pack is going to come out, and there's not going to be another pack to come out for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have a whole 2 weeks to play around with, you know, telling the story even better, you know? So, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited to get the feedback, you know, from our customers, you know, obviously because we're giving a lot more, you know, the prices are going to go up just a little bit, you know, nothing crazy. But but it's also too, up until this point, I think even from a price point standpoint, we've always kind of charged a little bit lower than we probably should have. And moving forward, we're just going to charge probably closer to, what these packs are really worth. And I'm without doubt that our true supporters are just going to continue to ride with us like they've always done,
Yeah.
And again, we're giving you guys more with these new things we're implementing. I think at the end of the day, we've always been about being of service to people who are just like us,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all producers, and we all know what it's like to want certain resources available to us. So,
right.
I feel like at the end of the day, like I was, speaking for myself, I'm sure I can speak for you guys. I just enjoy like being of service and, in a way being able to collaborate with thousands of people through what we do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that producer community isn't one that you think of service being like, one of those things that is common. Like you don't, producers are the guys you think, we're the guys that, people take things from. You take our beats, take our methods, but you don't see like the giving aspect in the community. So I really feel like when we emphasize on those things, I really believe people appreciate it. And because I like seeing that stuff. Like you said, we're all producers. I like, looking into other people's methods in their studio, see what they're working on, seeing what's new, seeing what's going into what people are putting into the stuff that I'm using. So, I want to see all that stuff.
For sure, man. Yeah, and even like even moving forward with like the newer episodes of The Office, like one of the things that we're going to do an even better job of doing is kind of showcasing a bit more on actual instruments, taking some time to break down, like perfect example, when people watch Heaven Can't Wait and they're seeing John and they're looking at his bass and they're like, what kind of bass is that? Because there's no frets on the bass. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now we can explain what a fretless bass is and why it's amazing that somebody like John can play his bass without any markers.
Yeah, that thing sounds amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and it's not just an aesthetics thing. It actually sounds different.
Yeah, he left it down here. I started cutting, some more stuff for some more, loops in this pack, and I'm like, yo, this is the greatest sounding bass I've ever heard in this house.
Yeah,
just gotta find the right notes.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, Joel needs the frets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's not there yet.
Put some tape on there.
I mean, that's a classic instrument just from the standpoint of it being a P bass, but also it being a vintage bass and that fretless sound. I mean, I feel like John, like the way that he plays, any bass is gonna sound like butter, but especially that, I just kind of feel like that was kind of made for what he does best.
Right.
And it's kind of like a match made in heaven,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I specifically, it's not that he doesn't do this with every other bass, but with that P bass specifically, when he's like never looking down, like ever. He's just playing.
Yeah, it's a natural bass instinct.
Yeah, man. And that's the, I know from my side of things, that's the one thing that I've been harping on since we started is the musicianship of this team. And, it's no, like somebody, I put up a post the other day that said musicianship and somebody was like shots fired. And I was like, nah, bro, it's not shots fired. There's no right or wrong way to make music, but at the same time, there are those that they just kind of go to a different level when it comes to, getting to a place of mastering an instrument. And I mean, there's probably, can you really master an instrument? Maybe, but I think it's just one of those things I think it's just another one of those things where you can always be better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys prove that a lot, because I've known you guys. I've known Smythe for, I guess, like going on 3 years now, and then John and Joel I've known for, it's crazy, it's almost like 6 or 7 years already, which is kind of insane. And just even from when I first met John and Joel to now, they're way better, which is insane because they were amazing when I first met them. And even with Smythe, it's the same thing where, like I showed Tish, we watched the Heaven Can't Wait on the TV, on the smart TV, and her and Taylor, they were just mesmerized watching you guys play. And I said that's why I want to showcase that stuff, is because what we're not going to do moving forward is, it's not going to be about the product per se. You know, the product is there, it's great. We're really grateful to our, you know, the people who buy from us and support us. But the thing that I really want to showcase especially is the musicianship, you know, because I think that's the thing that distinguishes us from everybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the squad that we have. We say this all of the time, but I don't know if I've ever been a part of anything where like I can look to John and like John is gonna hold it down. Like John is, I would never want to put any other bass player on a record or on a gig. Right. Same thing with you, Joel. Like if I could, like I would get the technology and I would clone Joel and just have like a robot version of Joel just in here pressing buttons and stuff.
Right.
Likewise, man.
Yeah, and Pudge and Elvin, like these are people that, like, you know, I don't think I'm being biased. Like I can look around and really say like, yeah, like from everything I've heard, you know, on records and on gigs, like I would want Elvin to mix and master my stuff. I would want Pudge to play drums, you know. Pudge is, you know, I mean, like I could go on and on about everybody. Like Pudge is essentially a Philly drummer, but you hear Pudge play, he's more than that, you know. Like you hear that influence, but
he's got his own sound.
Yeah, like Pudge is what, I don't want to put his age out there, but he's mastered.
We're the same age.
Yeah, we'll say that. Playing for artists who are like 1.5 times or 2 times his age, you know, well, maybe not that old, but like a sound that he's mastered, playing a sound that's like not even a part of his generation, you know, like playing with Anita Baker, like that kind of thing just kind of blows my mind. Like the way he's able to do that, you know, everybody, and of course, like Wes, like, nah, he's kind of trash.
Yeah. Low-key.
No, man. Like Wes is kind of like the Dr. Dre, you know, where it's like he's been a part of everything. Have you rapped before? This is a metaphor, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't want to bring this up, man.
The guy's done everything, but now he's kind of like pushing everything forward and pushing everybody forward in a way. So I've never been a part of anything like this. So like, I agree. I really think it's about time for everybody to see like, yo, Joel makes sample packs, but Joel has a mind that no one else has, you know.
Yep.
Like, you know, it's time for people to see stuff like that, because, you know, that you can't contain that in 15 loops, you know.
Straight up, all those sentiments are right, and you know, it's already just even in the beginning of seeing the feedback, you know, I'm really excited to see just how this continues to go and go and go, and even to the place where, you know, I think even moving forward at some point. The other thing that I was also thinking about as far as like starting to spread stuff out, you know, I really want to be able to, when you guys have gigs and stuff, to be able to show up to the gig, you know what I'm saying? And to be able to showcase that, because that's technically part of Soul Surplus too, because you guys are involved in it, you know what I'm saying? So just to kind of prove that it's not even just about being in the studio. You guys can actually perform too, so
yeah.
But yeah, man, great episode today. Looking forward to all you guys being able to hear the new pack. It's available now. And look forward to hearing your feedback. We're here, positive or negative, man. We definitely will take all things into consideration. So appreciate you checking in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Catch you later.
Peace.